deterioration. B, economic obsolescence. Residential deterioration.
Mute. Turn it off.
Yeah. I'm trying to set it off.
Okay, this is the most frustrating thing I've had today is this dang Zoom. Okay. How is everyone? You guys are off the quiet.
Oh, are we starting? I thought you were just letting everybody in.
I thought I'd turn this damn thing off.
So I went through KW Cares and it was different. So whenever I click on the link that was originally sent to me, it waits and waits. And then, so I exited out of that and then I went to KW Cares and it brought me in. So I don't know.
Yeah, I clicked on the link, went to the original link, and it was telling me to waiting for the host. I was like, I thought I disabled that. But we will figure it out. Looks like Donna's getting her thing set up. Happy Monday, everyone. Do you guys know that we have 93 days left in the year?
Awesome.
That's all?
That's all. 93 days left. Where are you
Should
at
I be
towards your goal?
playing music, Christmas music? No?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Christmas music can start as 7 days ago. It's a 100-day count. All right. Here's the meeting room. So is this the room we're in? Copy invite link. 1578. That's good. Okay. No waiting room. You must select, oh, it's passcode or waiting room. That's dumb. That's real dumb. Password will be KWSA. All right. Tess, how are you? Coffee shop, interactive, we chat. I like it. I'm good with it. I'm kind of sad to see like what's going on. Like, what are you guys feeling? What are you seeing that's created like such a dip in our activities?
What do you mean by dip?
Engagement in classes is down across the board.
Because we all know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Not really. I was being sarcastic, everyone.
That's the same. I'm seeing it. It's not just this class and this call. I'm seeing it across the board. Like Thursdays, I didn't put out the meeting invite. I was to see who was going to run off of the one KWSA website links and stuff like that. One person showed up to the Thursday call.
I came late after my showing and no one was there.
Yeah, I killed it at like 6:50. And because Tess and I were talking and had ourselves a grand old one-on-one for a while.
I say that would be nice to have one-on-one, conference. Not that
Come
I
on, put it
can't.
on.
I was just, I know.
I'll make time for you.
So I got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Farm. What should I, as far as inspection goes to my buyers that are buying a farm, what type of inspections outside of the ordinary, meaning, yes, home inspection, yes, well inspection. It's a tin roof. I'm not sure it's brand new. Do we need a roof inspection? But those type of things, what would you suggest?
Well, as long as you're doing your well, septic, normal gauntlet, that's it. There's no difference between a farm and a normal house. It's just land, acreage, and what's on it.
Well, let's talk about septic. So it's up to the sellers to do septic. However, at what point do we need to engage the seller's agent to find out where we're at with that process?
Well, they're supposed to have it done before 20 days before closing or something like that.
Right.
I would just reach out and say, hey, when are you guys having the septic certified?
Okay.
Amber, have you already looked at on the MLS whether it's in the documents?
Yeah, the other agent sent me the well stuff. However, the septic, yeah, we have all the paperwork. We just don't have typically what I'm learning is sellers won't do the septic inspection fully, because if it falls through, they just wasted amount of dollars, because it has to be within 6 months. So if the deal goes through, they're out of money. If they don't sell within 6 months, they have to do it again. There's a lot of background noise. Is it just me?
I muted it.
You got a restaurant or something?
Amber, are you in Pima County?
The property that my buyers are buying is in Cochise.
Can't help you then.
I know. You were my first person I would talk to. So
yeah, that was like I said. There's nothing different.
Okay.
In grand scope, is there any livestock that's transferring?
Transferring from, I'm not 100% sure. That I need to have a conversation. I know horses are. I'm just not sure if, I don't know if that's considered livestock, but yeah. So yes, there will be some livestock going there.
Yeah, so that might be something to, if they want to, if it's a concern of your buyers, to consult a veterinary aide to find out the conditions or something like that, because you could be inheriting a problem in that aspect.
Okay.
So we also have we got a couple of agents over at Sierra Vista that are really good with horses, the Ledheimers. So if you need some
I'm actually in
assistance,
contact with Charity out there right now.
Yeah, Charity Plum will help you out too. And then Stephanie and Bobby Ledheimer will be very helpful if you have issues or needs with horses. So Dreamview Stables.
So horses aren't personal property in the real estate transaction?
They absolutely are. It's just they might sometimes in farms, you're buying the farm land, and part of that sale value is the chattel. Get it? Chattel? That's the
Chattel.
technical term.
Yeah.
I can't believe I remember that, but that's been so long. Yes, she is working in Cochise County. Tess. Awesome. Well, today I want to really talk about contracts, and I'm specifically geared around sellers' concessions. I really want you guys to focus intently on getting accurate answers from your lenders and getting a dollar amount needed to close the transaction. Not what would be nice, what would be good, what would be the benefit to your buyers. I want you to know the dead set dollar amount needed to close the transaction. Why do I want you to know that?
Because then in the contract, it looks better that we know exactly what we need. We're asking for a specific dollar amount. We're not asking for 3% and getting more than we do need.
There is another reason, if you know the dead set dollar amount needed.
Makes for a stronger contract.
Stronger contract. If you're
No, we're doing
$100
it. We
plus,
need to negotiate.
exactly. So if you need $5,400 in closing costs to close this transaction, you know the appraisal is going to be $600. You know that they're going to have a couple $100 in inspections, that your lender's all good with them paying towards close of escrow or having escrow pay them back, then you can make an assumption with them, even still under the 3%, and still getting all of their fees back. Did you guys know that if the lender was okay with them getting money back to pay for the inspection, they can from closing costs?
How would that work? Can you explain that?
Yeah, you would just submit the invoices to title as soon as they happen, and say, out of seller, and send them an email, out of seller concessions, that buyer's getting compensated for this. Hell, some inspection companies will actually bill escrow.
I did not know that.
Jason, do me a favor, log out and see if you can jump right back in.
Okay.
Because I know that you can quickly do it. Yeah, so that's definitely something you want to know so you can have a little bit of edge to help your buyers out. Because wouldn't it be nice for them to get, $1,000 back at the close of escrow? I've got a client we're closing next week. Actually, sorry, 2 days. They signed today that's getting $1,000 back close of escrow because we asked for a dollar amount. KWSA.
That leads me to a question that I have that we talked about already, but just as a group setting, on the Binzer, it says $1,000 credit at closing. When I do my addendum for that and my buyers said that, hey, we want to put it down toward, or buyer that $1,000 toward the closing cost, how would I write that? Meaning, do I just, because it's way after the contract, I'm kind of confused on how that works. I know you can do addendum anytime, but how would I write that in the addendum that reflects? Or do I just say $1,000 toward what was already negotiated as far as down payment or closing costs?
The seller shall contribute an additional $1,000 towards buyer's closing costs. Or you can change the line if you did 3%, or if you did a dollar amount, line 100, line 101, you can change line
I did a
101
dollar
shall
amount.
read. Yeah, so just add $1,000. You can say line 101 shall read $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, whatever, what have you. Or you can just say, but that's the key word is an additional. If you're doing seller's concessions, like seller to provide $1,000 towards closing costs, can be read that you are now negating what you put in the contract. The addendum says they're only doing $1,000 in closing costs. When you put the words an additional $1,000 towards closing costs, there's there. Now, again, having that dead set number that you need to close the transaction is important to know, because if you are going to get a seller's credit and you've got, easy math, $5,000 in closing costs, that's it. That's all you need. That's the whole kit and caboodle. And the seller's already contributing at $5,000 in closing costs, and they offer you $1,000 in closing credit in lieu of repair. If you don't know that dead set number, you may say, yeah, it's a great deal. We'll take $1,000 closing credit. And your buyers cannot utilize it. What happens if the amount promised is not the amount owed to a seller? If they say, I'm going to pay up to $6,000 and it only comes in at $5,500, what happens? Who gets the other $500?
The seller.
Yeah, seller.
Okay, I heard buyer. Hold on. You guys all know it's the seller? Anyone think it's the buyer?
No, it's the seller.
It's definitely the seller. That's why it's important to have your distribution authorizations, all your invoices, everything that's going to be paid out of escrow, including your commission, submitted to title well before closing. So you need to be doing your DAs, your green sheets, almost as soon as you go under contract. That should be part of your submittal process. You should be get documents signed, send to seller, seller signs, get into command, submit to broker, submit your commissions tab.
But that's what changed in the new contract, was that specific thing, because now it's just a set amount. It's not up to amount. Would you add that like on additional comments or additional items up to, just to clarify that? Or like you said, if it doesn't get that much, then the seller just gets it back.
Yeah, so line 100 on your contract, if you guys haven't had this, it reads, in addition to other costs, seller has agreed to pay her will credit buyer blank of the purchase price or blank seller concessions. The concessions can be used for any buyer fee, cost, charge, or expenditure to the extent allowed by the buyer's lender. There is no up to anymore, because that bottom line changed that. to the extent approved by the buyer's lender. That reads because if the lender's okay with it being paid for through the close of escrow, or then and can be paid for by the concessions, then you can apply them towards it. They don't have to put up to anymore, because it used to be that those were set amounts that you're only allowed to use for certain things. And you'd always see on page 8 where people would write in, seller's concessions can be used for the appraisal, the inspections, the blah, 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 blah. And now they changed all that verbiage to at the extent of the buyer's lender's approval, or whatever the stating is. Amber, you had your hand up a little bit.
So I guess that would be, so when it's all said and done, when you have, say the down payment was, let's go, I don't know, 10,000, and the seller's paying concessions, and then that $1,000 they want to put toward down payment, they're just going to have to really bring 9,000 to the table instead of 10, correct?
Incorrect. The seller cannot pay down payment.
But with the, so with the credit, with the cost to repair fee, like that's where I don't understand, because if they're already paying concessions, how does that work then?
They're paying additional concessions.
But what if it doesn't go over that that amount?
And this is why we don't negotiate seller's closing costs in the Binzer repair, because sometimes you cannot utilize that credit. In these situations, we need to put everything we possibly can back through to the title. The only proceeds that a seller or a buyer is allowed to get from a close of transaction is the earnest money. Technically, closing costs, credit to the buyer, cannot be paid to the buyer directly. The only money that they're allowed to receive is their earnest money.
So can I request that on an addendum then? Because if they're
What did
already,
you have the earnest money set to already?
the earnest money was set to, I have to bring it up.
Now, this is why I want to talk about this, is contracts have been the hitch in a lot of things lately, because it's been, I've seen a ton, I do mean a ton, of credits in lieu of repairs. Mainly because repairs are getting so hard to do because everyone's so damn busy. But I want to make sure you don't get trick bagged by that, and knowing what your dead set seller concessions need to be. Is that one of your concerns, Ms. Amber? Is you don't think you'd be able to cover it?
Well, the thing is when they get that $1,000 in credit for repairs, to me, if they're already paying for concessions, what's the $1,000 going to? Nothing.
Yeah, but how much are they paying in concessions?
Oh, hold on.
I can see a net.
They're paying $4,500 toward their concessions on a $165,000 purchase price.
Okay.
So that covers more than, for the 165 concessions will cover more than, or it'll be less than $4,500.
So you got, now you're at $5,500, right? Because you added 1,000 to that.
Correct.
So that's why you need to call the lender and say, hey, what can we squeeze into this thing?
Gotcha.
Inspection's already paid for. Let's get the inspection, the appraisal fee, anything we possibly can. Let's call the lender and just squeeze that for all it's worth.
They just paid for the appraisal fee today.
Well, if he paid for it to the lender, can he get that money back from the lender at the close of escrow?
It looks like he paid the actual company because the lender just requested them to go out or sent them a link to go pay for the appraisal.
Okay, let's get it. Let's get an invoice, and it's a reimbursement,
Okay.
not a proceed. But you want to call the lender and make sure they're okay with it. Some lenders are not okay with buyers paying for this and that. Most of the ones I've dealt with are all okay with it because they know you're just trying to squeeze that for all it's worth. Like what? Nothing more. I asked for $6,000 in closing costs. It was $5,950, if I think I'm correct. And I think the total came in at $5,640. And I was mad that I gave up a couple $100 to my buyers. But we did. We sharpened the pencil to get the offer as tight as we possibly could. And my lender had a really good idea of exactly what was needed. So we asked for almost exactly that. And then we rang the bell for as much as we possibly could and got the rest of it. And then got $1,000 of their earnest money returned.
Just recently, for a couple months ago, I had a situation where I was the listing agent, and they asked for $4,500, and that was initially what the lender said. I even talked to them to double check with that because my buyer was very suspicious and never believed anything what the seller said. Anyway, it turned out in the end it was $6,000, so they were a little surprised by that. So whatever the lender sometimes says is not always what it ends up being.
I'm going to call her as soon as I'm done with this meeting. Yeah, because this is the first time ever dealing with something like that. Normally they say I'll repair this or fix that, but never offer a credit. So
Yeah, I've seen a lot of credits lately. Now,
Sometimes this is a mix.
back answer for the
They
agent.
say-
Stay away from credits.
Sometimes
Go
it's
ahead, Marcus.
I'm saying sometimes it's a mix. They say, we'll pair A, B, C, but C and D, or D and E, we will pay a certain amount towards. Could be both, could be one or the other.
Yeah, I've seen that. The 8 items on the Benzer, the seller responds with only 2 of them and then sends an addendum for $1,000 or $1,500 in closing credits.
I had one instead of the repair, the seller then offered us the home warranty, and that worked out good for the buyer.
So there's a good one.
So I did that. So let's talk about that for a minute. I'm still kind of confused on the whole buyer. If a buyer buys the home warranty, but right now it doesn't protect the seller, correct? But if I,
Correct.
as a listing agent, and the seller bought the home warranty that came with it, with the seller would be protected up until they close, correct?
Not correct.
No?
Seller protection has to be added to the listing prior to being under contract.
That's good to know because I did not know that either.
As soon as you sign a listing, this is good advice for everyone out there. Tell your listing agent, your listing as the agent, say the box on there says does or does not, yes or no on home warranty, and check yes. And they're like, why is it checked yes? And tell them most buyers are going to ask for a home warranty. Now, because we're listed and things can happen, I want you to have the sound protection of a home warranty during this time it's listed. That being said, it does not cost you anything until we close escrow, and then it comes out of the proceeds. And typically you're going to get a contract where they're asking for that anyways. If you want to cover the HVAC system as well, it's an additional $50.
But my buyers,
Go ahead.
but my buyers, because I'm purchasing their home warranty, when it doesn't kick in until they actually close on the property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there is no coverage until it's even, and this is the problem with home warranties, even if something happens on day 1 of ownership, the warranty may not be in play yet because it hasn't been paid for, and there's no history of coverage. A seller's coverage will give you history of coverage and allow that protection to cover over the time of closing. And because it always seems to happen within the first week you find something and they bitch at you for not catching it during the inspections, and it's all your fault, right? That's when the home warranty is helpful. It's $75 to come fix your toilet. Now, if there's no coverage beforehand, the warranty company say, hey, read the flyer. It says no within 30 days. All right, Tessa, say something again.
I don't know what BDC is.
Big Dan
Big
Caldwell.
Dan Caldwell.
Caldwell.
Oh.
Okay, can I clarify if I understand this
Yes.
correctly?
Please do.
Okay, so if you have a listing coming up and you're going to have a listing agreement signed, you'll check the box for the home warranty that you're going to offer to the future buyers. But you don't have to pay for it up front, but yet seller will have coverage. And then it gets paid out of the proceeds at closing. So in the meantime, when you're, let's say, under contract, something happens, then the seller is able to get that issue resolved, possibly through the warranty.
Jason, you with us?
Yeah,
What was
I'm
the
with you.
experience on your mom's house?
I didn't hear the question though. Sorry. What?
On seller's coverage on your mom's house.
Oh, for home warranty? There was a lot of stuff that happened when she was trying to sell the house, and they came in and we just had to pay the service charge, but everything else was covered. I think there was the water heater went out and some plumbing issues, and it was all covered under home warranty.
$1,800 water heater repair bill. $180 because they had to upgrade some of the piping, which wasn't covered by the home warranty, but $75 inspection and then the upgrade of the pipes. Didn't have to, they had to pay the $75 right now, but the actual home warranty was not paid for until the close of escrow.
Okay, so if you elect to offer that warranty to whoever is going to buy that property, then does that mean you have to call and order that warranty right then? Like,
Absolutely.
okay, that's what,
As soon as the listing is signed.
okay,
I don't care if it's not going live for 3 weeks or a month, but as soon as that listing is signed and
Okay.
they opt in for seller coverage, you need to put it on the house.
if the sellers opt in for seller coverage, you mean?
Yes.
Got it.
But see, that's what I don't, so the listing agent knew that I was purchasing, because it's obviously on the contract, that I was gonna buy the home warranty. And when we talked about inspections, she's like, well, they'll be covered, but that's not the point. So I was really kind of irritated with her. What's that?
They absolutely won't.
What do you mean?
The inspections would not be covered by the home warranty.
No, not the inspections, but I'm talking about, she's saying the items that we listed on the Benzer to fix, repair, or whatever. She was like, well, I don't know why your buyers are worried about it. You're buying them a buyer home warranty. And I'm like, but that to me is not, that's after the fact. That we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I'm protecting my clients after home ownership starts.
Correct.
I'm requesting that your client make sure that the house is safe and equitable for my clients to buy, and I'm just guaranteeing the longevity. Well, those things are covered. That's good. Then your seller would understand why we're asking for them to be repaired so that they are covered.
Right, but that's what was my point.
History of damage or anything like that, then you're not going to have any go-go.
So that's exactly how I should have handled it, right? Instead of
Right.
just hanging up.
Just throw your phone in the lake.
Oh.
Just yeet it in the lake.
But when she said that, it kind of like set me off a little bit. And I'm like, well, why didn't you just offer your seller coverage if you were, worried about it at that point? And I guess she's a broker too. So I kind of was expecting, I guess, more from that than what I got.
I will let you guys know that the requirements to be a broker, it's first English, second salmon, I don't know.
What's in that cup?
To be a broker, yeah, exactly. That was red juice. Don't ask questions. Am I flush? Am I red? Kidding.
Not yet.
To be a broker, you have to be licensed 3 out of the last 5 years. You don't have to do a single transaction. You just have to be licensed 3 out of the last 5 years.
Okay.
Now let me ask you. Now, does that change your perception on broker?
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's a nameplate that's been put out there to guarantee, expertise in their field. Like Heather right now could be a broker. She can go get a broker's license. She's been licensed for 6 years. She hasn't sold houses in 4, almost 5. But she's been licensed for 6 years. Way different than Lisa, who is a broker, who's been licensed for 30 and been practicing real estate for 30. So as long as you have a higher expectation of what you're going to do in the transaction and you have a higher understanding of your obligations and how to navigate on both sides of that trench, no matter who you're working with, you will see way better deals with those who are good, and you will see way easier deals with those who are bad. It's just understanding every traversity. But you're absolutely right, Amber. That's the way you should have handled it. She's going to come at you like that. That's rude, dismissive, and she's fighting for her client. I'll give her that. Good for you. You're right. Those would be covered by the home warranty if they weren't called out on the inspection. Now we have documented proof of pre-existing issues. Are you going to let your seller lose the deal over something so small?
Oh, I wish you were in my pocket that day.
Sometimes also they think they're way ahead. You're just a new agent, so they're trying to fool you into something you don't really want to do. Just they're projecting confidence and saying something, and you just take it because they're more experienced, but they're just pulling your leg or putting you in disadvantage.
Amber, you do have me in your pocket.
I do, but at that point, I just was like, are you kidding me? Are you telling me this right now? Like, I just wanted to, I knew it was wrong because of how she said it. And it wasn't like, well, have you thought about this or have you thought about that? It was more of a, well, you're buying a buyer's warranty. You should be covered. And I was like, when she said that should have been a key word to really think about what she just said.
Yeah, next time, hey, that's a great point. Let me give you a call right back, okay? Pick me up. Dan, I am pissed. Can you talk? You think I'm going to stop what I'm doing? Yeah. One of you guys says, I need you right now. I appreciate the text beforehand. It's always worked. Hey, you got a second? I call you back. It works. It's a great system. But if you need something in the moment, you need some in the moment stuff. That's why you have me. That's why you have the broker hotline. That's why you have each other. And that is the catalyst of this. And pull yourself out of the situation for just that second. Make a phone call. Even if you're face to face with them, you're just like, you know what? I'm losing my composure. I'm going to punch this bee right in your nose. And you're like, hey, it's a great point. Give me just a second. I got to make a phone call. And then come around and ask me, recap it. That is the value of what we do here. Now, the rest of yous have learned from one of your sister's experiences, and you'll learn from the rest, right? We all family here. This is a one for all kind of thing. So I love that we brought up these topics because it's going to help shine some light for those that are new. Adriana is soaking this stuff in like a sponge. When you come across those situations, you're going to have that aha moment. For those of you who've done a few deals, Renee partnered up with Jason Carlton. I'm sure that she has seen a lot of the situations that we've been talking about hypothetically start to unfold now that she's way more active in the field. And I think that's awesome for her. But it's having that added experience level now. So she can filter it through the experience of going through it in the phone call or the call with us, this meeting, and then actually in field like, oh shit, you're right. It does work that way.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, and when you're talking about brokers, I will say that the brokers that have been doing deals, they've been the worst communicators from my experience. So just, I guess it is something to look out for, especially if you're trying to get a hold of an agent. And if you see they have a broker's license, just try harder.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. There's a reason I'm not a broker. I'll get my broker's license eventually, but I will never be a broker. I know the contract pretty well, but I don't want to know it that well. Awesome. Awesome.
This is good
Okay.
stuff. Good stuff.
Anything else on seller coverage, home warranties, Benzers, inspections, and
So
the credit card to go with them?
so again, on the seller side, if they elected to have the coverage and then we are in the due diligence period. So an example with Jason, what happened with his mom's property, they can basically use the coverage for certain repairs. Can they use it for stuff that's requested in the Benzer?
Sometimes.
Or just kind of something that happens, you know, unexpectedly?
Yeah, things that happen unexpectedly. A lot of the issues I've seen, dishwashers go out, garbage disposals go out, fridges start, ACs go out, because it could be working one day and not the next.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, of all the sellers I've ever handled, the situations I've been a part of personally, Jason's mom's house was the worst example of things going wrong when they shouldn't go wrong. The water heater went out the day of inspection.
Oh, jeez. Yikes.
It was actively leaking water. So we called them and said, the water heater's leaking. Can you help? And the good thing is the agent, it was another Keller Williams agent, he called us and said, hey, I don't know if you know this or not, the water heater's leaking. I did not know that. We can't let that leak go because it could destroy drywall. So, hey, Jason, got a drywall, we got a leak. Let's called it in. They, I think it was like a day later, called us up and sent them out there. Rock and roll. And then, what was it?
Was that
within
210?
a week after that, the plumbing underneath the kitchen sink blew up. Like, I wish I still had the picture. Jason sent me a picture just soaked because he was in there trying to turn it off and he couldn't. He'd turn off water to the house.
Thanks.
But these are things like, and the seller coverage was there. I had the same conversation with Jason's mom when we sold her house about seller coverage. Like, hey, they're going to ask for a home warranty. Plus, this protects you in the interim. I know that Old Dominion, was it Old Dominion or Old Republic? Old Dominion. Old Dominion home warranty. 210, both offer seller coverages. I believe AHS does. American Home Shield.
It's Old Republic, isn't it?
Yeah, Old Republic.
Yeah. Yeah, Old Republic. Thank you. Old Republic. I knew it was something. Old Dominion's a freight company then.
Yes.
Around the same. My lives are blending. All right.
So when
Next, page 8. Page 8. What goes on page 8 of the purchase contract?
Nothing.
additional terms, if any?
If any. Ooh, ooh. What do you mean, if any?
I haven't needed page 8 yet.
Me either.
That's a good thing. Page 8 is a great place to get yourself in trouble.
Yes, it is.
I reviewed a contract for someone this weekend and it read on page 8, buyer responsible for closing costs.
And
How do you read
Who wrote
that?
It's gonna be responsible for all closing both sides.
yes,
That's exactly how it reads. That's not how it was intended. They just wanted to show that the buyer would pay for their closing costs. I was like, no, 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 no. That's already written in the contract. That's already clearly explained. Please read sections 2H or whatever it is, 2C. It's like line 99.
Yikes.
But if you put it on page 8, it now becomes part of the contract that supersedes another part of the contract.
Who told them to put it on page 8?
They did it thinking that was going to be the best bet.
Yikes.
That's why I review contracts for y'all. If you don't know, if you're not sure, before you send it out for signatures, download it and send it to me.
I've put stuff on page 8, but it was like when we were agreeing to pay up to X amount in the house, in the event that the house didn't appraise.
Escalation clause.
That's actually a post-appraisal escalation clause. That's a beautiful thing to put in there. In the event the subject property does not appraise for the purchase price, buyer is willing to pay up to blank.
Yeah. Is there a separate form for that, or we just do it in 8?
That would be a page.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good, because that's where I've done it, and we've.
Yeah, I would say that's
I've
a great
won.
clause.
I've won 2 contracts because of that. So.
Yeah, that's a great clause. It's a way of kind of superseding the appraisal contingency without getting rid of it completely.
Yeah, and then we had one set of buyers that they own a property management company, and they were waiving inspections. So even though we put 0 and submitted a 0 days for inspections and submitted a blank Binzer, we went ahead and added it in there on page 8.
So types of things that should go on page 8.
Escalation clause.
The second one or the first one, Tess?
What she just finished talking about.
The appraisal, the inspection one, Renee.
Oh, so we had buyers, they own a property management company, so they're not concerned about like doing inspections at all. So we wrote 0 days for when our inspection time period, but just so it was more prominent, we added it in. Just buyer agrees to waive inspection. I don't remember exactly what it said. And then when we submitted that offer, we submitted it with a signed Binzer so that they knew that there wouldn't be any request for repairs.
And I'm sure that you had them sign their waiver of inspections.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
So page 8 has some good use, but you want to be very careful. Secondly, if you're related to the client at all, or the seller is related to the seller's agent at all, disclose it on page 8. That
Or
makes
owner
it part of
agent.
the contract. What's that? Owner agent, yeah, exactly. Seller is licensed to sell real estate in Arizona. Bam. Buyer is related to buyer's agent. Buyer is licensed to sell real estate in Arizona and working for Keller Williams, Southern Arizona. When do you think you use that line?
Full agency.
When you buy a house.
No,
I was going to say yes.
I'm buying my house.
When you buy a house. I want you guys to buy a house. All of you, buy a house.
Invest.
For free.
Say that again, Big Dan.
Buyer is licensed to sell real estate in Arizona and working for Keller Williams, Southern Arizona. It's any disclosure. Buyer's related to the client. If you're related to the client, if there's any relations at all in the deal. So buyer is related to the seller. Buyer is related to the buyer's agent. Seller is related to the buyer's agent. Seller is related to the seller's agent. What have you. Just disclose it.
Mm-hmm.
Page 8. Page 8's a good place for escalation clauses.
Okay, so if you're a buyer writing a contract and like in the MLS, we can see that the seller is related to an agent. Do we put that in there even if it's on the seller side?
If you know that the seller and the buyer, or the seller and the agent are related.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If,
I didn't know
like,
if the buyers would include that or not.
Like, let's say if Mike's wife was selling a house and Mike was the agent and you were buying the house, the disclosure page would read, buyer is a licensed agent in Arizona to sell real estate, work for Keller Williams. Seller is related to the seller's agent. And if Mike was an owner of the property, seller is an agent, licensed to blank. You just want to disclose anything and all knowns. Because it's going to have to just get disclosed at some point.
So that'd be a disclosure notice and on page 8, are you saying?
That would be where you disclose it, it's page 8.
Okay, just disclose on page 8. No, you don't need an additional disclosure notice. Okay.
No.
So the buyer side would include it on page 8 as an acknowledgement, and then they sign off on it.
Yeah, you'll see in some purchase contract, or it's actually some MLS listings, it says, please notate on page 8, seller is licensed to sell real estate in Arizona.
Oh,
But like you'll see that in the agent remarks.
Yeah,
Please
that's
notate
fine.
on page 8, owner agent.
got it.
So just cover you. But I want you guys to be super cautious about what you actually put in writing on page 8 beyond those things. even an escalation clause can go wrong if it's written wrong. Raul Gil-Azamar, a good friend of mine, you guys have met him. He's an agent that used to be on the Alpha team. He went off independent. Received 2 contracts on his listing. One of them had an escalation clause of $1,000 over the next best competitive offer.
Wow.
The other one was $1 better.
Wow. Huh.
The other thing is, the one that was $1 better had an escalation clause of $500 over the next best net competitive offer. A little bit better, net. What are both of those missing?
Limit?
A limit. Up to what?
Stop points.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, those offers could have gone up into the millions.
Keep going. Mm-hmm.
They just 500,000, 500,000, 500,000, 500,000. There is no stop.
How did that, how did it work out? I'm curious.
I made him call the agents and tell them to rewrite their offers. Or
Point it out. Be nice. Point it out.
I told him, he's like, dude, what do I do? I told him, I was like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to call the agents and tell them, hey, man, letting you know I got another offer. I see you have an escalation clause. They have an escalation clause. Your escalation clause does not contain a stopping point. Would you like to resend the offer? Or would you like to send me I told him, would you like to send in an addendum changing that? And then I had a multiple counter both of them. So, because it actually came down to, on one page, page 8 of one of the contracts, the buyer said, or it says seller shall paint living room. And that's what lost that deal.
Wow.
Lost the deal over painting a living room.
Aye.
Well, it's money.
Yeah, it's money and time. It's energy. You asked me to paint something? No. You asked me for $500 to paint something? Okay. I'll buy your house, but give me a $500 credit for the paint in the living room. Okay. It would probably cost me $30, right, in paint. In a couple hours of my time. What's a couple hours of my time worth, though? Yeah, the hell with all that. No, I'm not going to do it. No.
Mm-hmm.
I hate painting. I despise it.
What if you're an out-of-state seller?
You better have a real good agent.
Yeah.
I do a lot of out-of-state investors, and they're a pain in the ass. The way you get around that is you have a really good handy team, painters, drywallers, electricians, people that you can count on to do things. Put the home on a lockbox, a contractor box. Get in writing on the listing agreement that they allow you to put a contractor's box with a key and code will only be given out to people associated with the transaction, not to the public. And they go and do the work.
Where does that go in the listing agreement?
In the bottom, it's like the page 8 of the listing agreement. So.
Okay.
I want that list of vendors.
It took years to create.
Yeah, believe it.
I didn't know that needed to be included in the listing agreement.
It absolutely does, because the listing agreement only says that you're allowed to put.
Okay.
Let me
I
pull it up.
haven't done my own listing, so.
Read over the contracts. I want every one of you to read over the contracts. And this is every form, every document. It's in DocuSign or in .loop or in Transaction Desk, whatever you use. Be familiar and be comfortable with it. Raise of hands, thumbs up, or head nods. How many of you have read the purchase contract? How many have read it more than once?
Yes.
Definitely.
How many of you know what line 100 says?
Nobody.
Not by heart. Sorry.
Not that much.
Okay, give me what does line 100 talk about?
Concession.
Thank you, Melissa. Concessions. What's line 118?
Title, escrow.
Is it though?
118?
Address? Wait.
Title security agent.
117.
118.
Yeah, that would be like, isn't it the address?
Is it though?
I'm trying
The
to.
address of the title security agency.
I don't have it here.
Golden goal.
Where is it?
You got to know a couple of things on a contract. You got to know the concessions. You got to know who the title company is. You got to know who's paying for the appraisal.
Right.
So essentially, you're looking at the first page, those numbers there, looking at 100, 101, 111, and then 117 through 118. So if you don't know this, you will not do very well in listings because you have to review those offers. You can send them to me. I will review them and I will give you my notes, or we can review them together and we can discuss it, just so you can see the things that I'm looking for. But if you don't understand a purchase contract in its intimacy, when you get a bunch of offers on a listing, it's going to blend together. You're going to lose sight of different aspects. You're going to miss out that this one says that they're giving us, they want a $500 warranty, and this one only wants a $300 warranty, and this one's got a 30-day close, and this one's got a 50-day close. Like, you'll start blending these things together, but if you look at all those aspects over and over and over and over again, they start to blend together. That's why it's important to know the key critical points of a contract so that you can go, this is this, this is this, here's the win, here's the loss, here's the pro, here's the con. Which option would you like to take? My recommendation is this one, and this is why. Melissa sent me a contract yesterday. 2 of them actually, had me review them. I broke it down and said, hey, this is a better offer financially. This offer looks better on paper because of this, but it does have this, this, and this. My advice is to take this one because you're going to deal with this, this, and this in the long term. So lending type, time to close, inspection periods, how the contract was actually written. Did they miss stuff? Did they fill in the seller's information on the back page? Do they put
Do you ever ask for final and best?
Go ahead.
Do you ever ask in such 2 offers, you ask for final and best? Go back to them?
I think that's a lazy ass way to handle a contract.
Okay.
I will multiple counter though.
What?
We did that the other day, but it was 2 investors fighting for it, so we knew that we needed actual final and best.
If you go final and best, that's fine, but final and best is the lazy way of getting, because
You should have seen how many things they had with their, they had an escalation clause and this and that. They had a crap ton of stuff written in section 8. So
You just don't do the final, you just say there's multiple offers, or what you do?
multiple offer form is you can send over, it's another form that's in your MLS. You can check it out. And you can send, if you have 4 different offers, you can send a multiple counter to each one of the 4s.
Yeah.
Okay, offer 1, I like the closing date. I don't like the purchase price. I'm going to counter the purchase price. Offer 2, I love everything except for I'm not paying for home warranty. Offer 3, I love everything except for the earnest money's not enough. And offer 4, I love everything. I just hope they can give a little bit more. So I'm going to multiple counter each one differently and have them send me back, because then it gives them the option. And Amber, I think, just did that yesterday. We're talking about, you can increase your original purchase price in the counter, even though it's not one of the items that was multiple countered to you. Sweeten the deal, if you will.
Wait, why would you do that?
If there's a multiple counter, then you know that there's multiple offers.
Right.
And if you know that they're multiple countering out there, instead of saying, hey, Cindy, give me your highest and best, you're like, well, you go to your client and say, hey, give me your highest and best. They're like, I did. If I go to you and say, hey, Miss Cindy, we got a multiple offer, they're asking for us to shorten our closing time. My advice is, why don't we throw some sugar on top of that? What do you mean by that? Can we offer a couple $1,000s more?
And you're talking on as a buyer's agent, or are you talking as okay?
As a seller's agent, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we got 4 offers. They're all really pretty similar. If you'll check your email, I just sent you a breakdown of all of them and my recommendations. What would you like to do? Well, we really like this offer, but this offer is how about this? And my recommendation is we multiple counter all 4 of them. Offer 1, this is what we're going to ask for. Offer 2, this is what we're going to ask for. Offer 3, this is what we're going to ask for. And what they do is you're essentially trying to narrow the gap and make everything even, which is what's going to make your seller happy, and then send it out to them. And the great thing is the seller has final say. And even if they agree to your counter, the seller has final say.
And do the other parties know about the multiple counters? They don't need to know, right?
Yeah, they don't know the terms of the other counters.
But they could know that there's other counters.
You have to use the multiple counter if you're countering.
That's why you use the multiple counter. Otherwise, you're sending out 4 binding contracts.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you're using a counter offer and the buyers agree to it, you are now in contract. So if you do that 4 times, you're liable for 4 different contracts.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
If you send a multiple counter,
Yeah, okay.
it identifies, hey, this counter is being sent out to 4 different parties. It doesn't even have to tell how many, just multiple coppers. And the seller has final say.
Yeah, okay.
If you're listing and haven't looked at one of those yet, I would highly recommend it, because when I went to go look at it the other day, I was really confused because there's extra lines on it, because after the counter is accepted, there's extra, you have to have it the buyer and the seller again. So I would definitely take a look at it if you haven't yet.
Yeah, you guys can see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a multiple counter offer originated by the seller to the offer, or if they got multiple counter offers, seller, buyer, premises, acceptance of offer is contingent upon the agreement following, blah, blah, blah. This is what we want to change. Agreement by blank, seller. Buyer's response shall attach another counter. If you're responding, it's just a normal counter form. It becomes counter 2. So if this is, you got the purchase offer, you get this back, this becomes counter 1, even though it's not listed. They respond, that's counter 2, and then you guys have an open negotiation on that point. If you're still communicating at that, then you keep going. Or if they agree, buyer agrees to the terms here, this now becomes their terms, seller's response, and final acceptance. So even if they counter, the seller can respond, an additional counter or multiple counter is attached, seller. So just make sure you check the right one. But the cool thing is the seller has final say. That's what makes this form so dynamic. And then you were asking me on the listing, as soon as you see it.
Is it just, or what? Oh, wait, see.
Yeah. Right there. Additional terms.
So that's where you include, like, if you're doing a cancellation fee and stuff too, then, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's exactly where you put the cancellation fee. That's where you put the rest of the verbiage for additional lock boxes.
Okay.
Again, being careful what you write there.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone getting tricked back and having that conversation with, hey, you told them that I would be responsible for all closing costs. I have to pay $12,000, including your commission.
Yeah.
That's kind of a condition of closing, isn't it? So, awesome. Well, did you guys get some value out of today's contract stuff?
Definitely.
Did I confuse you a little bit?
Definitely. No, I'm kidding.
I will tell you that having a mastery and knowing how to work these documents and what other documents are out there to help you will lead to that much more confidence in your craft and your ability to win more deals.
Yeah, definitely.
So
that confidence projects automatically.
If you know what you're talking about, it shines through. Fake it till you make it, but at least show up. I'm glad you guys were here. I'd love to see more of you. And I know, Tess, I think it's the elongation of our isolation is definitely not. Are you going to conduct a negotiation class soon? You know, Tess, I don't know who's teaching negotiations this time. I think I am in Ignite.
Josh Berkeley's was really good though.
It was. I enjoyed it.
I would go back and watch it if you didn't watch it during Ignite.
So.
But I'd like a Big Dan version too.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Josh's was really good, and I've viewed that one a couple of times already. Additionally, but I want to hear Big Dan's version.
Well, we'll do another. I want to start a series coming up. It's going to be a 6-week long series where they have different business topics. I want to talk about next week is going to be building a goal sheet you guys can start thinking around a life by design, not so much just a life by substance and scarcity. So we're going to go over some worksheets. I'm going to have you guys turn them in. That way we can have kind of some accountability to it. I would love to start seeing some 411s, write the goals down, put it on paper. It's a scary thing to do, but I'm not kidding when I say every Monday I do a new one, and I just tack it onto the back of the other one. Write down your goals. You know where you're going. It's only going to help you out. Any questions before we disembark?
Is this 6-week class-ish thing, are you talking about as part of our weekly or bi-weekly PC group thing, or is this separate?
It would be, I'm going to enroll it in our 6 every Monday. I'm going to sprinkle it in every Monday.
I would love that.
This is why I do the Monday. This is the group coaching. You guys, the Monday is the education. The Thursday is the fortification of Monday's class and to talk about more things going on. It also gives you a chance to recap things you've got coming up on the weekend and talk about it. The more you engage, the more you will participate. The more you participate, the more you will get paid. If you hide in this and you hide behind your computer, you hide behind your bullshit excuses about not getting into activity, you will hide in real estate. And I need to be as blunt as I possibly can when it comes to that. What's more important, your comfort or your goal?
Well, I don't want to go to jail.
Exactly.
Don't go to jail.
And that's what terrifies me, is I feel like I'm just not, for an intelligent human being, I am just not soaking up the things that could really get me into trouble.
All you got to do is remember one thing, Tess. Contacts, Dan Caldwell, put it to your ear.
Y'all are so busy.
Contacts, broker hotline, put it to your ear. If you don't know, reach out. If you are unsure, reach out. If you want me to pat you on the back and say, great job, you nailed it, reach out. I am not a participation player, but I'm a hugger. And sometimes you need a hug. You need life put back into you. You need your willpower fortified. Sometimes you need kicked in the ass, but you always need to show up. That's a good point. Do a practice offer and send it to me.
Yep, I did it.
Thank you for the 3 of you who did it.
I wrote like 5 that week, so
I literally got
I was contracted out at that point. And now they're all going to close in the next like 15 days. So,
but if you haven't written one, it helps so much to actually make yourself do it and go through each line.
Or you can use a refresher. I needed a refresher.
A refresher, then bam, she's got like 3 working right now.
Yeah.
The videos are online. The support is there. The group me chat, if you're not engaged in it, do so. Ask questions. Celebrate wins. We are a community. The only reason a community exists is when people show up. I've been to a lot of protests in my life that didn't have anyone there. It was a joke.
I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead. Miss Tess, I know where you're at.
All right, guys, we'll go out there, do something great. I look forward to seeing some purchase contracts. Send them to bigd@kw.com. That way I know they're not contracts on real properties.
I'm going to need you in my back pocket real soon, Dan.
I'm there. Do your stretches. It's going to hurt.
Working on an upcoming listing.
Ooh, I love it. My favorite. All right. Annette, get in here. We're going to yell at Annette now because she was supposed to be part of this PC call this whole time, and she hasn't been. She's been sitting out there. We have a meeting at 3:30 scheduled, and she's just been sitting there.
She could have been on her phone.
Did you forget PC call today? You knew we did. All right, guys. I'll see you later. 8 a.m. scripts and role play. I'll see you there in the morning. Go out there, do something great. High fives. Love you. Always do better.
Thank you.